So in the Southern region, man, it is going to get real hectic and chaotic in the Southern region. In the South, the one seeded team in the South is none other than my pick to win it all this year and cut down the Nets in New Orleans in early April. And that is none other than the Arizona Wildcats, led by first year head coach Tommy Lloyd, who, of course, spent like the past 20 years as an assistant coach at Gonzaga under Mark Few. He makes a transition after Arizona fired Sean Miller last year. And in year one, he's done a great job of not only just maximizing this roster, but getting this team to buy into what he's preaching and letting them just do what they want to do on offense. Because, man, this Arizona team, to me, they're one of three teams in the country that are complete. It's only three teams in the country that I think have complete basketball teams, and that's Arizona, Kentucky, and Gonzaga. Those three teams I think are the most complete teams in college basketball. And so I'm choosing Arizona to win this entire tournament just because you have a guy in Benedict Mathurin who's from Montreal, Canada. He's one of the best scorers in the country. He's going to be a lottery pick in the draft this year. You have also what I think is the best front court in all of college basketball between Christian Koloko, who is an elite shot blocker, Umar Bala, who followed Tommy Lloyd from Gonzaga to Arizona. And then you have Azuolas Tubelis, who is a dog at about 7 feet. He can pass, shoot, he can stretch out defenses. He's just so crafty, and he plays basketball at a whole other plane that a lot of people just really don't understand. So I like this Arizona team to win it all. I think they're more than built for it. And you do have to give a smidge of credit to Sean Miller for leaving Tommy Lloyd all this talent that he has. And this team, man, is great. And Tommy Lloyd is doing an excellent job. And he has Arizona right back into the thick of things when it comes to being a powerhouse in the ranks of college basketball. So look out for them. But in their first game of this tournament, they're going to take on the winner of a first four game. Again, the first four games will take place this Wednesday in Dayton, Ohio. And in this first four game, they're going to have Wright State representing the Horizon League take on Bryant, who of course has the leading scorer in all of Division I basketball this year, and Peter Kiss. And me personally, I'm gonna be honest with you guys and girls out there and ladies out there, I'm taking Bryant to win this game just because I want to see Peter Kiss take on that taunting defense of Arizona. I really want to see that. The number one scorer in the country taking on the defense that Arizona has, that's must-see TV. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that Bryant gets that win against Wright State, even though Wright State probably is going to win that game. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but it'd be nice to watch the storyline of Peter Kiss take on Arizona. But regardless of who wins that Wright State and Bryant game, I'm getting and I'm taking Arizona to win that game regardless. So that leads us to our next game, where we will have the 8-seeded Seton Hall Pirates out of the Big East, man. Kevin Willard does not get enough credit for what he's done at Seton Hall. It is not easy to get kids to come and play in Newark, New Jersey. I'm going to just be honest. Nothing against Newark, but let's just be honest, especially when it comes to all the other schools in the Big East. For Kevin Willard to have sustained as much success as he has at Seton Hall is really a testament to how good and great of a coach that he really is, in my opinion. But this team has a lot of good players. I know they lost Bryce Aiken, which is a tough loss because he is a big-time point guard when he's healthy, but they still have guys like Kadar Richmond. You got Ike Obiagu. You have Jared Roden, who's been a guy that's been there for 4 years, has gotten buckets in plenty of big-time games. You know, Trey Jackson's really good. You got Yetna. This team is a really good team. And defensively, they compete in a lot of games. I get worried when it comes to their offense just because, yeah, they play really good defense, but offensively, like Kadari can carry so much. And Jared Roden, as gifted and good of a scorer as he is, sometimes he has a tendency to settle for tough shots. And so that can be concerning at times. But nonetheless, though, in this 8-seeded game, they will take on the 9-seeded Horned Frogs of TCU from the Big 12 down in Fort Worth. Jamie Dixon, another good coach out of the Big 12. This is a team that has flown under the radar for a very long time. And I remember going into the season, I talked about this team because they had some really good players already, like Mike Miles, who's probably another guard that a lot of people do not give enough credit because he should definitely be in the NBA very, very soon. But not only do you have Mike Miles, you also have who I believe was the best guard for Penny Hardaway last year in Damian Ball, who's a really, really good player, and he's proven that in the Big 12. And then also you have another underappreciated big man in Eddie Lampkin, who a lot of people are going to know about very, very soon. This Horned Frogs team is underrated, but trust me, they are good, and they are really, really good. And they can win multiple games in this tournament. But nonetheless, though, I'm going to take Seton Hall to win this game. I just trust Seton Hall's defense so much, and I stay saying that defense travels. Like, that's all it comes down to. If you play good defense, you're going to have a shot to win majority of games. Let's just be honest. And Seton Hall plays defense. Now, their offense needs to be slightly better, and they're going to have to make some adjustments going into this game, throughout the course of this week. But Seton Hall is my pick to win and advance in this game. Our next game, where we will have the 5-seeded Houston Cougars led by head coach Kelvin Sampson. I'm very concerned about this team. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, as much as I love Kelvin Sampson, they literally just made it to the Final Four last year where they lost to the national champs in Baylor. They lost their best players. Like, they lost Marcus Sasser, who is rumored to potentially be coming back. So we'll see if he does come back. That's a huge boost to this Cougars team, who, of course, just won the AAC Conference Tournament Championship. So that would help them out a lot. And they also lost their second best player in Trayvon Marks. But they still have some players here and there, like Jamal Sheed is really good. But without their two best players, how can you really trust a team? How much can you really trust a team? And again, I know they just beat Memphis, but it's tough. I just can't see it happening. So I'm going to take, in this game, the 12th-seeded Blazers from UAB, Alabama, Birmingham, the 12th seed in this game. I'm taking them to win this game. Honestly, I'm taking UAB as my Cinderella pick. I think UAB is the most dangerous team in the tournament because they're not really playing for too much. They're playing to win, obviously, but they weren't really highly touted as a mid-major team. And I think a lot of people need to put some more respect because Andy Kennedy is a underappreciated head coach. I know I keep using that word, and I'm sorry for it, but Andy Kennedy does not give as much love and attention as he should because he's done an excellent job with this program. He just used to be an analyst for ESPN for college basketball. Now he's already back on the sidelines as a head coach, and they won the Conference USA tournament. If you know, and I've watched and paid attention to the Conference USA, it's been a tournament that's gotten better and better each year between North Texas, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee. Those are all really good teams, and UAB came out on top. And don't even let me forget to mention the reason why I like this UAB team is because they have Jelly Fam's own, shout out to Jelly Fam, Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker in 2 games, the semifinal and the championship game of the Conference USA tournament, I think he had close to 90 points combined. To have 90 points combined almost in 2 games is impressive, man. That dude is the truth, and he is going to be a guard that a lot of teams do not want to see in this tournament. And I have UAB winning just because he is that good. Houston, they love to double team the post. UAB doesn't really play through the post that much. They play through their guards. And so that's why I trust UAB to get the job done. And I'm taking that as my upset in this region. The 12th-seeded UAB Blazers over the Houston Cougars and Kelvin Sampson. I'm sorry. You guys know I love Kelvin Sampson, but without their 2 best players, I just trust UAB more. And honestly, I just trust UAB as a team regardless. And I think they're going to make a lot of noise in the tournament. And that is my Cinderella pick, is the UAB Blazers of Alabama, Birmingham, to be specific. Now, in our next game, another game where I'm going to be choosing an upset, even though I don't really want to, but I see this happen just because I watched this team play in their conference tournament championship and I trust in them. But before we get to that team, the 4 seed in this game will be taking on 13 seed, of course, but the 4 seed is the Fighting Illini of Illinois, led by Brad Underwood, Kofi Coburn, Trent Frazier, Andre Curbelo, Alfonso Plummer. This Illinois team has a lot. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Illinois made a run to either the Elite Eight or the Final Four. They are more than good enough to do so. My only concern with them, because I love Trent Frazier. I think Trent Frazier is the perfect guard to have in March Madness. But my only concern with them is that as great as Kofi Coburn has been for Illinois, every time they run into a team that has a good guard, like an elite guard, and again, it's only a few of those out there, but when they run into a good or elite guard and you put Kofi Coburn in the pick and roll, because of how big he is at 7 feet, I don't even know how much he weighs, but he has to weigh at least over 250, 240. He's just slow-footed. When you're that big, it's hard to move like that laterally, especially. And so I think a good guard is going to pick them apart. And sadly, for Illinois, they had a tough draw in this first round. Well, they will be taking on UT Chattanooga in Tennessee. This is a tough game. This Chattanooga team is really, really good. Now, I watched them win the SoCon tournament. The SoCon is a Southern Conference. They did a great job. They actually ended up winning by a buzzer beater by Baptiste. David John Baptiste was a really good player. He's a really good guard. But it's not even him that I like about this team because he's a good guard too. but they also have another good guard in Malachi Smith, who is more than capable of going on a tear in March Madness. And then on top of that, they have former Kansas player, remember this name, Silvio De Sousa. He is more than capable of being able to guard a guy like Kofi Cockburn. And not only do they have Silvio, but they have a couple other dudes that are also just as big as Kofi Cockburn. And so between those three guys, that's 15 fouls that they can put on Kofi Cockburn. And I like this UT Chattanooga team a lot, man. They have a lot of dogs on this team. I trust them a lot, man. This team can make some noise. Lamont Paris has done an excellent job alongside his coaching staff of assembling talent, and this team has bought into what he's been preaching. And so I'm taking Chattanooga, UT Chattanooga, the Mocs, to win this game and knock off, as a 13 seed, knock off the 4-seeded Fighting Illini of Illinois. Bringing us to our next game, and taking us to our next game, you're going to have the Rams of Colorado State out of the Mountain West, who have had a successful season. Nico Medved has done an excellent job in Colorado State, and they have one of the best scorers in all college basketball. David Roddy is a star. He's going to be in the NBA. He's a huge, high major bucket getter. He can score with the best of them, and they will be taking on none other than the 11-seeded Michigan Wolverines. You know, Juwan Howard is going to come back from that suspension that he suffered after he put his hand on the face of an assistant coach for Wisconsin. They're finally going to get him back. But Michigan honestly wasn't a team that a lot of people thought wasn't going to make the tournament, between Hunter Dickinson, Frankie Collins, Moussa Diabate. They have some good players. I can't forget about their point guard. They have some good players. You know, I don't want to discredit them, but I know they're going to struggle. Colorado State, that is, they're going to struggle dealing with the height and athleticism that Michigan possesses. But I'm going to take Colorado State to win this game. I think Colorado State is just as good. I think they have more firepower on offense. And I think if they catch on fire, it's going to be trouble out the gate early for Michigan. So I'm going to take Colorado State in this game, just because outside of Hunter Dickinson, it's nobody that you can continually trust on offense for Michigan. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. Even though I know I'm a Michigan State fan, you can say I'm biased, you can say I'm a hater or whatever. I just trust Colorado State more. And that's all that comes down to. It's nothing against Michigan. I simply just trust Colorado State more. So I'm going to go with the Rams in that game. Now, in the next game, you're going to have the 3-seeded Tennessee Volunteers, led by Rick Barnes, Kennedy Chandler, whole bunch of really good dudes on that team. John Fulkerson, Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, Zakai Ziegler, some really good guys on this team. Josiah Jordan-James has really emerged and stepped up as a secondary offensive option outside of Kennedy Chandler. Of course, this team just won the SEC tournament. That's a hard league to do it in, because the SEC was arguably the best conference in all of college basketball this year. And for them to do that, to come out on top, says a lot about Tennessee. So this team is good. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Rick Barnes, he could make some noise with this team, because I don't think he's been to the Elite Eight at Tennessee yet, if I'm not mistaken. He hasn't, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's been close, but he has not gotten over the hump. And so with that, this team is capable of doing so. And so in their first game of the NCAA tournament, they're going to be taking on Longwood, who won the Big South tournament. This is their first tournament appearance ever. Shout out to Griff Aldridge. Longwood is in the tournament. They have never, ever been to the NCAA tournament. So I hope that they can make the most of their opportunity and enjoy it while it lasts. But I'm going to take Tennessee to win this game in the end. And so moving on, though, another game where I will have an upset just because I do not trust this team. And that team is 7-seeded Ohio State. The Buckeyes, led by Chris Holtmann. EJ Liddell is playing at an All-American level this year. You got other guys like Zed Key and Kyle Young who have been hurt. We do not know their status. We don't know what's going to happen going into this weekend. So we're going to assume that they're not going to have Zed Key and Kyle Young, but you also have dudes like Malachi Branham, who's been the freshman of the year in the Big Ten. You have another guy like Justin Arns. It's some pretty good players on this Ohio State team. My only concern with them, though, and it's a big concern, is they don't have a point guard. Without a point guard, you cannot have success in the NCAA tournament unless you have the most dominant player in the tournament. And Ohio State doesn't. As good as EJ Liddell is, he can't carry Ohio State to win multiple games without a point guard. And that was the biggest reason Ohio State was knocked out in the first round last year against Oral Roberts. They didn't have a point guard. And now, look at them now. They don't have a real deal point guard. And I just don't trust this team. And so in this game, they're going to take on none other than the 10-seeded Ramblers of Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean is indeed back in the NCAA tournament. This is the first time ever Loyola Chicago has gone to the tournament in back-to-back years. They have a first-year head coach, Porter Moser, dipped off and took the Oklahoma job. They didn't make the tournament, and Drew Valentine took over, going from assistant coach to head coach under Porter Moser, and he now has the Ramblers in March Madness. They won Arch Madness, which is the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship, and they have some dudes. Lucas Williamson has played in some big-time college basketball games. Braden Norris is a really good point guard in college basketball, and so I'm taking the Ramblers to win against the Ohio State Buckeyes in the first round. And that leads us to the last game in the Southern region. One of my favorite teams to make it to potentially the Elite Eight or the Final Four, a team that has multiple national championships within the past, 6-7 years. That is Jay Wright and Villanova. They will be a 2 seed led by Colin Gillespie, Justin Moore, Caleb Daniels, Jermaine Samuels. This team is good. They're finding their footing at the right time. Of course, they just won the Big East Tournament Championship at Madison Square Garden. They're hot right now, and that is a scary thing for the rest of college basketball. Jay Wright is an elite head coach. It is no fluke to why he has 2 national championships at all. He's done a phenomenal job at Villanova. It's a reason he was just recently inducted into the Hall of Fame. Villanova is the goods. I know they don't have that big-time wing that can go consistently give them buckets at a high level, but Justin Moore can be that when he wants to be. So give them time, and I think they're going to start to slowly figure things out. And when they get that first win, if they get that first win, they could keep marching and go very, very far in this tournament. And so their matchup in the first round is the Delaware Blue Hens, who won the CAA tournament championship in their conference, led by head coach Martin Inglesby, and you won't believe who their leading scorer is. It's none other than Jameer Nelson Jr. Yes, that is the son of Jameer Nelson, the legendary player in the NBA, and especially at St. Joe's, playing for Coach Martelli way back in the day with Delonte West. Jameer Nelson Jr. is a big-time scorer, and he is a huge reason to why the Delaware Blue Hens have made it to the NCAA tournament. But sadly, I'm going with Villanova. I just think they're a well-oiled machine. They've been doing it for so long. They have a lot of guys that have played in some big-time college basketball games. And you really just can't bet against Jay Wright. You know how people say you can't bet against Tom Brady? To me, you can't bet against Jay Wright. And so that's why I'm taking Villanova to win and advance. And as always, shout out to you guys. That is the Southern Region Recap.
Here, and the madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Predict winners in each round of